I still remember the smell of pine and cinnamon that filled Dad's house that Christmas Eve. It was supposed to be perfect. I'd driven 4 hours through a snowstorm, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white, just to make it in time for dinner. Because that's what you do when you're 32 years old and you still believe, somewhere deep in your foolish heart, that this year might be different. That this year, your father might finally see you. My name is Victoria Chen. I'm a social worker in Philadelphia, and I spend my days helping broken families find their way back to each other. The irony isn't lost on me. I can mediate between a teenage runaway and her alcoholic mother. I can find common ground between a father who's never said I love you and a son who's stopped trying to hear it. But I can't fix what's been broken in my own family for the past 15 years, not since Dad married Lorraine. I pulled into the driveway at 5:47 p.m. The house looked like something out of a magazine, white lights draped perfectly along the roofline. A wreath on the door with real pine cones and red velvet ribbon, fake snow sprayed artfully on the windows. Lorraine's touch. Everything she did was for show, for the neighbors, for the Christmas card photo that would go out to 200 people who probably didn't care. My old house, the one Mom decorated with mismatched ornaments I made in elementary school and strings of lights that always had 3 bulbs burnt out, had never looked like this. It had looked lived in, loved in, real. I sat in my car for a full 5 minutes, watching my breath fog up the windshield, giving myself the same pep talk I'd given myself every holiday for the past 15 years. He's your dad. He loves you. Lorraine makes him act different, but underneath, he's still the man who taught you to ride a bike, who stayed up all night when you had pneumonia in 3rd grade, who cried at your college graduation, except I wasn't sure anymore if I was remembering my real father or some version of him I'd invented to make the loss hurt less. I grabbed the pie from the passenger seat, apple, his favorite, made from scratch using Mom's recipe, and walked up the path. Before I could knock, the door swung open. Victoria, you made it! Lorraine stood there in a cream cashmere sweater and pearls, her smile bright and empty as a department store window. We were starting to worry. Traffic was bad, I said, stepping inside. The warmth hit me, along with the smell of roasted turkey and something floral, her perfume probably. It was everywhere in this house, coating everything like lacquer. Well, you're here now. That's what matters. She took my coat with the tips of her fingers, like she was afraid my old navy parka might contaminate her Burberry. Everyone's in the dining room. We're just about to start, everyone. I felt my stomach tighten. I followed her down the hallway, past family photos that told a story I wasn't part of. Lorraine and Dad on a cruise. Lorraine and Dad at some charity gala. And Vanessa, Lorraine's daughter from her first marriage. Vanessa at her law school graduation. Vanessa at her engagement party. Vanessa receiving some award. Always smiling, that same practice smile as her mother. There was one photo of me, one, from my college graduation, and I was barely visible in the background while Dad and Lorraine posed in the center. The dining room was decorated within an inch of its life. The table could have been in a magazine spread. White linens, gold chargers, crystal glasses that caught the candlelight, a centerpiece of white roses and winter branches. Everything perfect. Everything cold. Victoria. Dad stood up, and for just a second, I saw something warm in his eyes. Something that remembered. Then Lorraine touched his arm, and it was gone. How was the drive? Long, I said. But I made it. That's my girl. He hugged me. Quick and stiff. And I tried not to notice how different it felt from the way he used to hug me before, when Mom was alive and I was his little songbird and the world made sense. I looked around the table. Lorraine's sister Patricia and her husband Donald. Some couple I didn't know, friends of Lorraine's probably. And then Vanessa, sitting there in a dark green dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her engagement ring catching the light like a small star. "Hi, Victoria," Vanessa said. Her voice was pleasant, neutral. We'd never been enemies, Vanessa and I. We'd never been anything. We existed in the same space like two strangers in an elevator, polite and distant and waiting for it to be over. "Hi," I said. "Congratulations on the engagement." "Thank you," she smiled. "Brad's finishing up a conference call. He'll be here soon, Brad. The corporate lawyer." I'd heard about Brad. Lorraine made sure everyone heard about Brad. Victoria, honey, why don't you sit there? Lorraine said, gesturing to a chair at the far end of the table. The corner. The spot you put someone when you're obligated to include them but don't really want them there. I looked at Dad. He was already sitting down, unfolding his napkin, not meeting my eyes. Fine. I could take a hint. I'd been taking hints for 15 years. I sat down and put Mom's apple pie on the chair next to me. No one acknowledged it. Lorraine was already bringing out dishes: turkey, stuffing, sweet potatoes with marshmallows, green bean casserole, everything picture perfect and probably catered because Lorraine didn't cook. Not really. She assembled meals. This looks amazing, Lorraine, Patricia gushed. You've outdone yourself. Oh, it's nothing, Lorraine said with false modesty. I just love bringing people together for the holidays. I bit my tongue, literally, tasted blood. We started passing dishes. I took small portions of everything, trying to make myself smaller, less noticeable, less of an inconvenience. I'd gotten good at that. So, Victoria, Donald said, clearly trying to be polite. How's work? Busy, I said. December's always hard. Lots of families struggling with. Well, with being families. Oh, how depressing, Patricia said. I don't know how you do it. All that sadness. Someone has to, I said quietly. Victoria has always had a bleeding heart, Lorraine said, and it didn't sound like a compliment. Takes after her mother that way. The table went quiet. No one mentioned my mother, ever. It was an unspoken rule in Dad's new life. My mother, Patricia Chen, who loved birds and terrible puns and sang off-key in the kitchen, she was a ghost we didn't acknowledge. Dad cleared his throat. How's the apartment, Vic? It's good. Landlord finally fixed the heat. You know, if you'd gone into corporate law like Vanessa, you could afford a better place, Lorraine said. Social work is admirable, but it doesn't exactly pay well, does it? I felt my face flush. I like helping people. Of course you do, sweetheart. She smiled. I'm just saying you have options. The doorbell rang, saving me from whatever else she planned to say. That'll be Brad. Vanessa jumped up, suddenly animated in a way I'd never seen her. She came back with a tall man in an expensive suit, his smile practiced, his handshake firm. Brad looked like someone who'd been raised on country club lawns and prep school assemblies. He fit perfectly into Lorraine's world. Sorry I'm late, he said. Client emergency. You work too hard, Lorraine said, in a way that made it clear she thought working hard was the highest virtue. She glanced at me. I looked away. Here, Brad. Sit here. Lorraine pulled out the chair at the head of the table, right next to Dad. The place of honor. We kept eating, kept making small talk. Patricia talked about her cruise. Donald talked about golf. Vanessa and Brad discussed their wedding plans, a destination wedding in Napa, 200 guests. A dress from some designer I'd never heard of. I pushed sweet potatoes around my plate and tried to remember why I'd come. Then Lorraine stood up. Oh, I almost forgot. I have something special. She disappeared into the kitchen and came back with a small wrap box, which she placed in front of Dad. What's this? He asked. Open it, she said, her eyes bright. It's from Vanessa and me. He unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a watch, expensive, gold engraved. Read the back, Vanessa said softly. He turned it over. His face changed, softened. To the best dad in the world. Love always, Vanessa. My heart stopped. Dad looked up at Vanessa. His eyes actually wet. Sweetheart, this is too much. You deserve it, she said. You've been more of a father to me than my own dad ever was. He stood up and hugged her. Really hugged her. The kind of hug he used to give me. The kind I couldn't remember anymore. I felt something crack inside my chest. Let's make a toast, Lorraine said, raising her glass. To family. To the people who choose to love us, even when they don't have to. Everyone raised their glasses. Even Dad. He was looking at Vanessa like she hung the moon. I didn't raise mine. I couldn't. My hand wouldn't move. Lorraine noticed. Victoria, are you going to toast? My voice came out strangled. I need to use the restroom. I stood up fast, my chair scraping loud against the floor. I walked out before anyone could see my face. In the bathroom. I gripped the sink and tried to breathe. Tried not to cry. Tried not to scream. She's not even his daughter. I am. I'm his daughter. I'm his blood. I'm the one who looks like him, who has his laugh, who inherited his terrible eyesight and his love of old westerns. I'm the one who used to sit on his shoulders at fireworks shows. I'm the one who made him Father's Day cards every year until I was 23 because I thought maybe if I just kept trying. I looked at myself in the mirror, 32 years old, still hoping, still waiting, still that little girl who couldn't understand why daddy didn't love her anymore after mommy died. I washed my face, reapplied my lipstick, put on the mask I'd gotten so good at wearing. When I came back, they were bringing out dessert. Not my pie. Some elaborate chocolate torte from a bakery with gold leaf and raspberry sauce. Oh, Victoria, you brought pie, Lorraine said, like she'd just noticed. How sweet. We'll have it tomorrow, maybe. I sat down, took a bite of torte. It tasted like nothing. The conversation flowed around me. I was invisible, a placeholder, a box to check. Invited Victoria for Christmas. Done. Then Brad asked the question that broke me. So, Mr. Chen, do you have any other children besides Vanessa? The table went silent. Dad looked up, looked at me for one brief second, then looked away. No, he said. Vanessa's my only daughter. The world stopped. I heard the words, watched his mouth form them, but my brain couldn't process what I was hearing. No, Vanessa's my only daughter. Dad, I whispered. He didn't look at me. John, Lorraine said quickly, her voice sharp. What about I said what I said? He interrupted. His voice was cold, final. Vanessa's my daughter, my real daughter, the one who's been here, the one who didn't abandon me when I needed her most. The room spun. Abandon you? Dad, I was 19 when Mom died. I was grieving too. I went to college because Mom wanted me to. You left, he said. And now he was looking at me, really looking at me. And there was nothing warm in his eyes, nothing familiar. You left me alone. Vanessa was there. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday, every time I needed someone. Because I was building a life. My voice cracked. Because that's what you and Mom raised me to do. Your mother, he said it like a curse. Your mother filled your head with all those ideas about helping people, about making a difference. Look where that got you. 32 and alone in a tiny apartment, scraping by on a social worker's salary. I felt like I'd been slapped. At least I'm helping people, I said. At least I'm doing something that matters. Vanessa matters, he said. She went to law school. She's marrying a good man. She's made something of herself. She makes me proud. The words hung in the air like poison. And I don't. I whispered. He didn't answer, which was an answer. I stood up. My legs were shaking. I should go. Yes, Lorraine said quickly. Maybe that's best. You seem upset. And we don't want to ruin. Sit down. Everyone looked at Dad. I said, sit down, Victoria. I stared at him. Why? So you can humiliate me more? You're being dramatic. Sit down. And because I was weak, because some part of me still wanted his approval, I started to sit. That's when the doorbell rang again. Lorraine frowned. Who could that be? She went to answer it. We heard voices. Then she came back. Her face strange. John. There's a woman here. She says she needs to speak with you. What woman? I don't know. She says it's important. Dad stood up, annoyed. This is Christmas Eve. Who the hell? He walked to the front door. We all sat there, frozen, listening. Then we heard his voice, shocked. Diane. My blood went cold. Diane, my mother's sister. My aunt who I hadn't seen in 10 years. Not since the funeral and the terrible fight that came after. We need to talk, I heard her say. Now. This isn't a good time. Patricia is dying, John. The world tilted. I stood up and walked to the hallway. Dad and Diane were standing in the doorway. Diane looked older, grayer, but her eyes, Mom's eyes, were the same. What? Dad's face had gone white. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. She has maybe 2 months. Diane's voice was shaking. She wants to see Victoria. She wants to say goodbye to her niece before she saw me, then stopped. Her face crumpled. Victoria. She opened her arms. I ran to her, hugged her. started crying into her shoulder like I was 10 years old again. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry I stayed away so long. I was angry at him for moving on so fast, for forgetting Patricia so quickly, and I took it out on you too by disappearing. That was wrong. But now Mom's dying and she keeps asking for you, and I realize I've wasted so much time being angry when I should have been loving you. It's okay. I sobbed. It's okay. Dad just stood there, staring at us like we were strangers. You should come, Diane said to me, ignoring him completely. Tonight. She's awake now, alert, but tomorrow. She shook her head. I'll get my coat, I said. Victoria, Dad's voice. We're in the middle of Christmas dinner. I turned to look at him. Really look at him. Your sister is dying, I said. Mom's sister, and she wants to see me. Your real daughter. I saw him flinch. You have a choice to make, Diane said to him, her voice hard. You can come with us to say goodbye to your dying sister-in-law, or you can stay here with your new family and pretend your old life never existed. But Victoria's coming with me. How dare you come into my home, Lorraine started. This was Patricia's home first, Diane snapped. These were Patricia's dishes, Patricia's recipes, Patricia's Christmas traditions that you've stolen and made plastic. Everything in this house is a ghost of the woman you replaced. And you, she turned to Dad, you've let her erase everything Patricia was. Even your own daughter. That's not true, Dad said, but his voice was weak. Isn't it? When's the last time you visited Patricia's grave? When's the last time you said her name? Silence. That's what I thought. Diane looked at me. Get your things, sweetheart. Let's go. I went back to the dining room. Everyone was standing there, clearly having heard everything. I grabbed my purse. My coat. Mom's apple pie. Victoria, Vanessa said quietly. I'm sorry. I didn't know I wouldn't have. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And I saw something in her face, guilt maybe, or shame. Like she'd known, on some level, what her mother was doing. What my father was allowing. It's not your fault, I said. And I meant it. But it's not mine either. I walked past them all. Past Lorraine's perfect table and perfect decorations and perfect lies dotted to the door. I stopped and turned back. Dad was standing there, frozen halfway between two worlds, the dining room where his new family waited, and the doorway where his old one was leaving. I loved you, I said. I loved you so much it broke me. I kept trying and trying to be good enough, to be the daughter you wanted. But I was never going to be her, was I? I was never going to be Vanessa. Because I reminded you too much of Mom. Because every time you looked at me, you saw her face. And you couldn't handle that. So you replaced us both. Victoria. That's not. Yes, it is. My voice was steady now. Calm. And that's okay. I release you. I release you from being my father. From pretending you care. From those awkward Christmas dinners where we all pretend we're a family. You're free. Be happy with them. Forget I exist. You're already halfway there anyway. Don't say that. His voice broke. You're my daughter. No. I said softly. You said it yourself. Vanessa's your only daughter. Your real daughter. I'm just a ghost of your dead wife. And you can't love a ghost, can you? I walked out. Diane took my hand. We walked to her car together through the snow that had started falling again. Soft and quiet and clean. I didn't look back. In the car, Diane started driving. We didn't talk for a while. Then she said, I'm proud of you. For what? For standing up for yourself. For knowing your worth. She glanced at me. Your mother would be proud too. I started crying again. The ugly kind of crying, where you can't breathe and your whole body shakes. She's really dying. I whispered, yeah, baby, she is. I've missed so much. 10 years. I should have reached out. We both should have done a lot of things. But we're here now. That's what matters. We drove through the snow toward the hospital where my grandmother, my mother's mother, was spending what might be her last Christmas. And I thought about Dad, back in that perfect house with his perfect new family, opening presents and drinking wine and pretending everything was fine. I thought about how I'd spent 15 years trying to fit into a space I was never meant to occupy. I thought about my mother, and how she used to sing in the kitchen, and how she taught me that loving someone means seeing them, really seeing them. Not just the parts that are convenient or comfortable. I thought about Vanessa and how she'd looked when I left, like she'd just realized she'd been handed something that wasn't hers to take. But mostly I thought about myself, 32 years old, driving through a snowstorm on Christmas Eve. Finally understanding that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop trying to make someone love you. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Come back. We can talk about this. I deleted it. Then it buzzed again. And again. I turned it off. Good girl, Diane said quietly. We pulled up to the hospital. The lights were harsh and fluorescent, such a contrast to the soft glow of Lorraine's candlelit dining room. But when we walked into my grandmother's room and she saw me, her whole face lit up. Victoria, she breathed. My beautiful girl, you came. I went to her bedside, took her hand. It was so small now, so fragile, but her grip was strong. I'm sorry I stayed away, I said. Shh, you're here now. She smiled. Tell me everything. Tell me about your work. Tell me about your life. Tell me about the people you've helped. So I did. I sat there in that hospital room and told my dying grandmother about the teenage girl I'd helped get into a good foster home, about the family I'd reunited after years of separation, about the father who'd learned to talk to his son again. And she listened like it was the most important thing in the world. Your mother would be so proud, she said when I finished. You're doing exactly what she hoped you would. You're making the world softer for people who need it. I wish she could see it. I whispered. Oh baby, she can. Grandmother squeezed my hand. And she's so proud. We both are. We sat there together. The three of us, me, Diane, and grandmother, and talked about Mom. Really talked about her. Shared stories and memories that I'd kept locked up for 15 years because there was no one who wanted to hear them. Diane told me about when Mom was young, how she used to rescue injured birds and keep them in shoeboxes until they could fly again. I told them about how Mom used to make up silly songs about everything: washing dishes, folding laundry, driving to school. We laughed. We cried. We remembered. And for the first time in 15 years, I felt like I was home. Around midnight, grandmother got tired. The nurses came to adjust her medication, and Diane went to get coffee. I sat there in the dim hospital room, holding my grandmother's hand, listening to the beep of machines and the distant sound of carols playing somewhere down the hall. My phone was still off. I didn't want to know if Dad had called again. Didn't want to know if he was worried or angry, or if, and this was what I suspected, he'd just gone back to dinner and forgotten about me entirely. Victoria, grandmother said softly, come closer. I leaned in. I need to tell you something. About your father. I tensed. Grandma, you don't have to. When your mother died, she continued, her voice weak but determined, John was broken. Completely broken. We all were, but him especially. He loved her so much. I know. And when he looked at you, all he could see was her. The same eyes, the same smile, the same spirit. It was like having a ghost in his house, a constant reminder of everything he'd lost. Tears were sliding down my face. So he replaced us. He ran. She corrected gently. He ran from the pain. Lorraine offered him an escape, a life with no ghosts, no memories, no grief. And Vanessa. Vanessa didn't remind him of anyone he'd lost. She was safe. That doesn't make it okay. No. She agreed. It doesn't. What he did to you was cruel. Unforgivable maybe. But I want you to understand, it wasn't because you weren't enough. It was because you were too much of who he loved and lost. I sobbed into her blanket. But here's what I need you to hear, she said, lifting my chin so I had to look at her. Your mother's love lives in you. Every person you help, every family you put back together, every child you save, that's Patricia's legacy. That's her heart beating in the world. Don't let your father's pain steal that from you. Don't let it make you bitter. I don't know how not to be angry. You be angry. You grieve. You feel it all. But then you let it go. Not for him, but for you. Because carrying that weight will only make you like him, afraid to love fully, afraid to be seen, afraid to live. She was getting tired. I could see it in her eyes. Rest, Grandma. One more thing. She reached for something on her bedside table. A small envelope. Your mother wrote you a letter before she died. She was so sick at the end, but she insisted, made me promise to give it to you when the time was right. My hands shook as I took it. I think tonight is the right time, she said. Read it when you're ready. She closed her eyes. I sat there, staring at the envelope. My mother's handwriting on the front. For my Victoria, when she needs to remember. I couldn't open it. Not yet. Not here. Diane came back with coffee. We sat together in silence, watching grandmother sleep, listening to her breathe Tia M. She woke up briefly, looked at me, smiled. I see her in you, she whispered. My Patricia. She's so proud. Then she closed her eyes again. T for 17 a.m. She stopped breathing. The nurse came. Did what nurses do. Asked us if we wanted a few minutes. I held my grandmother's hand and felt the warmth leave it. And I thought about how death is just another kind of leaving. Another kind of door closing. And how I'd had too many doors closed in my face already. But Diane put her arm around me and said, she's with your mom now. They're together. And somehow that helped. We left the hospital as the sun was rising on Christmas morning. The snow had stopped. Everything was white and clean and quiet. Diane drove me back to her house, a small ranch in the suburbs. Nothing like Dad's showcase home. It was messy and warm, full of plants and books and life. You'll stay here, she said. Not a question. Okay. She set me up in the guest room and told me to sleep. But I couldn't. I sat on the bed, holding Mom's letter, until finally I worked up the courage to open it. The handwriting was shaky. She'd been so sick, but I could still read it. My dearest Victoria, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you're probably hurting. I'm so sorry, baby. I wanted more time with you. I wanted to see you graduate, get married, have children. I wanted to grow old and embarrass you at family gatherings. But God had other plans, and all I can do is trust that you'll be okay. I need you to know some things. You are not responsible for anyone else's happiness. Not your father's, not anyone's. You cannot fix people who don't want to be fixed. You cannot love someone into loving you back. I learned this the hard way, and I don't want you to make the same mistakes. Your father loves you. I know he does, but he loves his own comfort more, and that's not your fault. If he chooses to hide from grief instead of feeling it, that's his choice. You don't have to stay and watch him make it. Do the work that matters. Help people. Be kind, but don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Remember that you matter too. Your happiness matters. Your peace matters. And please, please don't wait for someone else to give you permission to be extraordinary. You already are. I love you more than all the birds in all the skies. I love you more than words can say. And wherever I am, whatever comes next, that love is with you. Always. Mommy read it 3 times. Then I pressed it to my chest and cried until there was nothing left. When I finally stopped, the sun was fully up. Christmas morning. I turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls. 23 from Dad. 15 from Lorraine. 9 from numbers I didn't recognize. And 1 voicemail. From Vanessa. Victoria. It's me. Look, I need to tell you something. After you left, I told my mom I couldn't do this anymore. I told her what she's been doing isn't okay, and what your dad's been doing is worse. They got into this huge fight, and he said some things. Anyway, he's been calling you all night. He's kind of losing it. My mom's pissed at me. Brad's confused. Everything's a mess. But I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I let them treat you like that. I'm sorry I took things that weren't mine to take. You deserved better. You deserve better. Call me if you want to talk. Or don't. Either way, I'm sorry. I deleted it. Then I listened to one of Dad's voicemails. Victoria, pick up. I don't understand why you're being like this. We need to talk. Call me back. Cold. Annoyed. Still. Making it about him. I deleted all the rest without listening. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I blocked his number. Blocked. Lorraine's blocked everyone except Vanessa. Because maybe someday we could have a conversation. But not today. Diane knocked on my door. You okay? Yeah, I said. And I meant it. I think I am. Good. Come eat something. Then we need to start planning the funeral. We spent Christmas Day planning my grandmother's funeral. We went through old photos, chose readings, picked out flowers. We cried, we laughed, we remembered, and I felt more at peace than I had in 15 years. 3 days later, we held the service. Small, intimate, just Diane, me, a few of Mom's old friends, and some of Grandmother's neighbors. Dad didn't come. I didn't expect him to, but Vanessa did. She stood in the back, wearing black, her face solemn. After the service, she approached me carefully. I wasn't sure if I should come. She said, "I'm glad you did. Can we talk sometime?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw someone who was just as trapped as I'd been, just in a different cage. "Yeah," I said, "sometime." She nodded and left. That night, Diane and I sat in her living room with wine and Chinese takeout Grandmother would have approved. She hated cooking and Diane said, "What are you going to do now?" "What do you mean? Are you going back to Philly? Staying here? What's next?" I thought about it. About my tiny apartment, my job, my life. I said slowly, I think I need to make some changes. Like what? I don't know yet. But I've spent so long trying to fit into spaces that didn't want me. Maybe it's time to build my own space. Diane smiled. Your mother would love that. Over the next few weeks, I stayed with Diane. We sorted through Grandmother's things. Found old photos of Mom I'd never seen. Letters she'd written. Recipes in her handwriting. And I started to remember her. Really remember her. Not as the saint I turned her into, but as a real person, flawed, funny, fierce. A woman who sang off key and burned dinner and loved too hard and wasn't afraid to take up space. I realized I'd been trying to be so small, so unobtrusive, so perfect, hoping Dad would notice me. But Mom had never been small. She'd been loud and bright and unapologetically herself. And she'd raised me to be the same. So I made a decision. I went back to Philly, put in my notice at work. Started applying for jobs in Diane's city, child advocacy positions, program director roles, places where I could make real change instead of just patching wounds. I found an apartment 3 blocks from Diane's house. Nothing fancy, but it had big windows and hardwood floors and a kitchen where I could sing off key while I cooked. I painted the walls colors Mom would have liked: soft yellow in the living room, sage green in the bedroom, bright blue in the bathroom. I hung photos of her everywhere. Of me and her, of Grandmother, of Diane. I made it a home full of ghosts, but the good kind, the kind that remind you where you came from and who loved you. And I started living. I got the program director job, started implementing changes, fighting for kids who needed someone to fight for them. I was good at it, better than I'd known. I made friends, real friends, who knew my whole story and loved me anyway. I went on dates. Bad ones, mostly, but they were mine, my choice, my life. And slowly, I felt myself become solid again. Real, not a ghost, not a placeholder, just me. 6 months after that Christmas, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Victoria, Dad's voice. Older, tired. Please don't hang up. I should have, but I didn't. What do you want? I need to see you. It's important. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. His voice cracked. Please, Victoria. I'm asking you. Just once. Let me explain. I thought about hanging up. About blocking this number too. About protecting the peace I'd fought so hard to build. But I also thought about Mom's letter. About not letting bitterness win. Fine, I said. One conversation. That's it. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our cities. Neutral ground. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in the corner, hunched over a cup he wasn't drinking. He looked older, grayer, smaller somehow. I sat down across from him. Thank you for coming, he said. I didn't say anything, just waited. Lorraine and I are separating, he said. I blinked. Whatever I'd expected. It wasn't that. After that night, after you left, everything fell apart. Vanessa told Lorraine she was ashamed of how they'd treated you. Lorraine said Vanessa was being ungrateful. They fought. Vanessa moved out. Lorraine blamed me for not controlling my daughter, her words, and I saw it all so clearly suddenly. How ugly it all was. How I'd let her turn me into someone I didn't recognize. He rubbed his face. I couldn't stop thinking about what you said. About how I replaced you both. And you were right. God, you were so right. I looked at you and all I saw was Patricia, and it hurt so much I couldn't stand it. So I let Lorraine convince me that moving forward meant forgetting. That her daughter could replace mine. That I could just start over. You could have talked to me, I said quietly. You could have said, Victoria, seeing you hurts because I miss your mother so much. I would have understood that. I was grieving too. I know. Tears were running down his face now. I was a coward. I'm a coward. I chose comfort over courage. I chose easy over real. And I lost my daughter. Yes, I said. You did. I went to your grandmother's grave last week. First time since the funeral. Sat there for 3 hours. Just talking to her. Apologizing. Asking her what Patricia would think of me now. He laughed bitterly. I think I know the answer. She would have been disappointed, I said. But she would have forgiven you. That's who she was. But I'm not her. I know. He looked at me with red eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking. Can we start over? Not pretend the past didn't happen, but maybe build something new? Something honest? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know. I said finally. I don't know if I can trust you again. You broke something in me that took years to fix. And I won't let you break it again. I understand, but I continued. I'm willing to try. Slowly. Very slowly. With boundaries. With honesty. If you're willing to do the actual work, anything, he said, I'll do anything. Then start with therapy. Get help. Process your grief properly, not by running from it. And maybe, after you've done that work, we can have coffee again. And talk. Really talk. Not about weather or work, but about real things. About Mom. About what she did. About how we move forward. He nodded, wiping his eyes. Okay. I can do that. And Dad? I waited until he looked at me. I need you to understand something. I'm not waiting for you anymore. I'm not hoping you'll see me or love me or approve of me. I've built a life I'm proud of. I have people who love me. I'm okay now, with or without you. So if we do this, you need to want it as much as I do. Not because you feel guilty. Not because you're lonely. Because you actually want your daughter back. I do, he whispered. God, Victoria, I do. I've wanted my daughter back since the moment you walked out that door. I was just too proud to admit it. We sat there in silence for a long moment. Okay, I said finally. So we start here. You get help. You do the work. And in 3 months, if you've actually done it, we have coffee again. We see how it feels. We take it one step at a time. No promises. No guarantees. Just trying. Thank you, he breathed. Thank you. I stood up to leave. Victoria? He said. I turned back. You look so much like her. Your mother. It's beautiful. I'm sorry I made you feel like that was a bad thing. My throat tightened. She was beautiful, inside and out. And I'm proud to look like her. You should be. And I should have told you that every single day. I left him there with his cold coffee and his regrets. 3 months later, he called again. He'd been in therapy, he said, twice a week. Going to Patricia's grave every Sunday. Reading letters she'd written him before she died. We met for coffee again. This time, we talked about Mom. Really talked about her. He told me about their first date. How she'd laughed so hard at his jokes she'd snorted. And instead of being embarrassed, she'd laughed even harder. I told him about the letter she'd left me. About what she'd said. He cried. Really cried. She was so much smarter than me, he said. About everything. Yeah. I agreed. She was. We started meeting once a month. Then twice. Then weekly. It wasn't perfect. We fought sometimes. He'd slip back into old patterns, getting defensive when I called him out. I'd shut down when things got too heavy. But we kept trying. He met my friends. Came to my new apartment. Saw the photos of Mom I'd hung everywhere. This is how it should be, he said, looking at them. Remembering her. Celebrating her. not hiding from her. Yeah, I said. It is. One Sunday, almost a year after that first coffee meeting, he asked if I'd come with him to visit Mom's grave. I hadn't been since the funeral. 15 years. We went together, stood there in front of her headstone. Patricia Marie Chen, beloved wife, mother, daughter. She made the world softer. I'm sorry I stayed away so long, Patricia, Dad said, his voice shaking. I'm sorry I tried to forget you. I'm sorry I hurt our daughter. I'm sorry for all of it. I knelt down and touched a cold stone. Hi, Mom, I whispered. I miss you. Every day. But I'm okay now. I'm doing the work you wanted me to do. I'm helping people. I'm living out loud. Just like you taught me. I paused. And Dad and I, we're trying. It's hard. But we're trying. I think you'd like that. Dad knelt beside me, put his arm around me. For the first time in 15 years, I let him. We sat there together, crying, grieving, finally doing what we should have done years ago. When we left, Dad said, I sold the house. Lorraine's house, I mean. I couldn't stay there anymore. Too many ghosts of the wrong kind. Where will you go? I found a small place downtown. Near you, actually, if that's okay. I thought about it. A year ago, it would have terrified me. Now, yeah, I said, that's okay. And I was thinking, he continued carefully, maybe we could start a tradition. Sunday dinners. At my place or yours. Nothing fancy. Just us, talking, being family. I'd like that. I said, and I meant it. Vanessa and I started talking too. Really talking. She'd broken up with Brad. He turned out to be just like my mom, she said, and was reassessing her whole life. I'm thinking about switching to family law, she told me over lunch one day. Working with kids in the system, like what you do, but from the legal side. You'd be good at that. I said, I want to do something that matters. Not just make money. Not just make my mom proud. Something real. Welcome to the family business, I said, smiling. She laughed. Your mom, what was she like? So I told her everything, and she listened like it mattered. I wish I'd known her, she said. Me too. We became friends. Real friends. Sisters, almost, in the way people become sisters when they've survived the same war. 2 years after that Christmas, Dad and I were having Sunday dinner at his new place, a modest apartment. Nothing like Lorraine's showcase when he pulled out a box. I found this when I was packing up the old house, he said. I'd forgotten about it. Inside were home videos. VHS tapes labeled in Mom's handwriting. Victoria's 5th birthday. Beach trip 1998. Christmas 2001. We spent the rest of the night watching them, crying and laughing and remembering. There was Mom, singing happy birthday off-key while 5-year-old me blew out candles. There was Dad, younger, happier, swinging me around in the ocean while Mom filmed and laughed. There was all of us together, opening presents on Christmas morning, a family that didn't know yet how little time it had left. We were happy, Dad said, watching the screen with tears running down his face. We were. I agreed. I'm so sorry I tried to erase this. To erase her. To erase us. I know, Dad. I know. He looked at me. Am I forgiven? I thought about it. Really thought about it. You're forgiven, I said. Not because you deserve it. Not because what you did was okay. But because I deserve peace. And so do you. And Mom would want us both to have it. He hugged me. Really hugged me. The kind of hug I remembered from childhood. I love you, Songbird, he whispered. The old nickname. The one he hadn't used since before Mom died. I love you too, Dad. 3 years after that Christmas, I got a call from Diane. Turn on the news, she said. I did. There was Lorraine, being let out of her accounting firm in handcuffs. Embezzlement. Fraud. She'd been stealing from clients for years, apparently. The perfect life had been built on lies. All the way down. Karma. Diane said with satisfaction. I thought about feeling vindicated, triumphant, but mostly I just felt sad. Sad for Vanessa, who was watching her mother's empire crumble. Sad for all the years wasted on bitterness and pretending. Sad for everyone who chooses comfort over truth. I called Vanessa. You okay? Not really, she said. But I will be. Want to come over? Yeah, I'll bring wine. We sat in her apartment. She'd moved into a modest place too. Left the luxury condo Brad had wanted and drank cheap wine and talked about mothers and choices and consequences. I spent my whole life trying to make her proud, Vanessa said. And she was a fraud the whole time. She was still your mom, I said. She could be both things, flawed and loved. Like your dad was, Vanessa said quietly. Yeah, like my dad was. We sat in comfortable silence. Thank you, she said eventually. For what? For being kind to me. Even when you didn't have to be. Even when I didn't deserve it. We're sisters now, I said. Not by blood, not by law, but by choice. And that's worth something. She smiled. Yeah, it is. Now. 5 years after that Christmas, I'm 37. I'm the director of a child advocacy center. I have a team of 12 people. We've helped hundreds of kids find better lives. I have a partner, Michael, a teacher I met at a conference. He's kind and funny and he knows my whole story and loves me anyway. Dad and I have dinner every Sunday. Sometimes Vanessa joins us. We cook mom's recipes. We tell stories. We laugh. I still miss her every single day, but it doesn't hurt the same way anymore. Last Sunday, Dad brought over a box. I've been working on something, he said. Inside were photo albums. Hundreds of photos of mom organized chronologically. Her whole life documented and preserved. I'm donating most of her things to charity, he said. But I made these for you, so you'll always have her. I cried looking through them. Mom as a little girl, as a teenager, her wedding day, pregnant with me, holding baby me in the hospital, her whole beautiful, ordinary, extraordinary life. Thank you, Dad. I should have done this years ago, he said. Should have celebrated her, not hidden her. You're doing it now. That's what matters. This Christmas, we're all having dinner together. Me, Michael, Dad, Vanessa, and Diane. We're cooking mom's recipes, using her grandmother's china that Dad saved, hanging her homemade ornaments on the tree. We're building new traditions on the foundation of old ones. We're choosing to be a family, not by blood or obligation, but by love and effort and the daily decision to show up for each other. It's not perfect. We still have hard days, moments when old wounds ache, times when we fall back into old patterns and have to fight our way out. But it's real, and it's ours. Sometimes I think about that night, that Christmas Eve when everything broke open, when I fell to the floor and Dad called Vanessa his real daughter and I walked out, thinking I'd never come back. I think about the 47 missed calls I ignored. I think about the choice I made to build my own life instead of waiting for someone else to make room for me in theirs. And I realized that was the night I stopped being a ghost. That was the night I became real. Mom wrote in her letter that I shouldn't wait for someone else to give me permission to be extraordinary. She was right. I gave myself permission, and everything else followed. Last week, I visited Mom's grave, alone this time. Hi, Mom, I said, kneeling by her stone. I just wanted to tell you, you were right about everything, about doing work that matters, about not setting myself on fire for other people, about being loud and bright and unapologetically me. I traced her name with my finger. I'm helping people, Mom, just like you did. I'm making the world softer, just like you taught me. And Dad and I, we're okay now. It took a long time. It was hard. But we got there. A bird landed on her headstone. A cardinal, bright red against the gray stone. Mom loved cardinals. I smiled. I know that's probably just a coincidence, but I'm going to take it as a sign anyway. The bird tilted its head, looking at me. I miss you every day, but I'm not angry anymore. I'm not broken anymore. I'm just me, living the life you'd want me to live, loving the people worth loving, standing up for myself, taking up space. The cardinal sang once, then flew away. I stood up, wiping my eyes. Thank you, Mom, for everything, for teaching me to be strong, for showing me what real love looks like, for the letter, for believing I could be extraordinary. I walked back to my car where Michael was waiting. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said, taking his hand. I really am. And for the first time in a very long time, I meant it completely. That Christmas Eve 5 years ago, my father pushed me away and called someone else his real daughter. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that his rejection would become my liberation. Those 47 missed calls weren't him trying to get me back. They were him realizing what he'd lost, and by the time he woke up to that truth, I'd already started building something better. A life where I didn't need his approval to know my worth. A family I chose, not one I was stuck with. A future where I was the author, not the footnote. People always ask me if I regret staying away that first year, if I wish I'd answered those calls sooner, if I think about what might have been different. And my answer is always the same: no. Because that year of silence taught me something crucial. It taught me that I was whole without him, that I could survive without his love, that I was worthy just as I was, ghost of my mother or not. And when we finally did rebuild our relationship, I came to the table as an equal, not a supplicant, not a daughter desperate for scraps of affection, but as a woman who knew her value and wouldn't accept anything less than real, honest, hard-won love. That's the thing about being pushed away. Sometimes it's the shove you needed to finally walk toward yourself. So when people hear my story and say, "Oh, how sad, your father rejected you on Christmas Eve," I understand their sympathy, but I also want them to know that was the night my real life began. That was the night I stopped waiting to be seen and started seeing myself. That was the night I fell to the floor and then stood up and walked out and never looked back. Until I was ready. Until I was whole. Until I knew, bone deep, that I was Patricia Chen's daughter, not because I looked like her or sounded like her or reminded someone of her, but because I'd learned to take up space the way she did. To love fiercely the way she did. To make the world softer the way she did, and to never, ever apologize for being exactly who I was meant to be. My name is Victoria Chen. I'm 37 years old. I'm a daughter, a partner, a friend, a sister by choice, and a director of a child advocacy center. I help broken families find their way back to each other. And 5 years ago, I learned how to help my own family do the same, not by staying where I wasn't wanted, but by leaving. By building something beautiful in the space that rejection created. By choosing myself when no one else would. That's my story. That's my truth. And I'm done apologizing for it.